Hey everyone, in today's CASE the Catty video, I'm going to feature the Happy Hedgehogs stamp set, which you can find in the brand new mini catalog. I'm going to show you how to create a really cool background that is featured in one of the catalog samples. Shall we get started? Hey fellow crafters, I'm Terri from nutsaboutsstamping.com. I love sharing techniques and project ideas for rubber stamping, paper crafting, and scrapbooking with you each week. There are times when we get stuck for inspiration, so in this new CASE the Catty series, I'm going to show you how to take one of our catalog samples and recreate it, but with a twist. Be sure to hit that red subscribe button and the bell beside it so that you'll be the first to be notified when my next video goes live. And watch all the way through my video for my bonus tips and design ideas. Now, let's case that catty. The Happy Hedgehogs bundle is a standalone bundle in the mini catalog. By standalone, I mean that it is not part of a larger product suite. Let's have a look at the stamp set with its adorable hedgehogs, flowers, butterflies, forest mushrooms, which I think is really cool, and birds. So you can combine these images to create a playful scene for scrapbook pages, or what I'm going to do today is I'm going to create a thank you card for someone in your life, and you'll thank them for their kindness and friendship. So let's have a look at the sample in the mini catalog. Here's the mini, and if you look on page 64, this is where you'll find the stamp set and you'll find the punch. So the sample that caught my eye was this one here, which is kind of unusual because you would think that I would want to recreate this sample with the hedgehogs because the hedgehogs are, the major part of the stamp set. But what really caught my eye was this little note underneath the card sample, and it says, create unique plaid backgrounds with water painters. So I thought it would be fun to recreate this sample with my own little twist and show you how to use water painters to create a background. So let's do that. Here are the water painters. You get 3 in a pack. And the reason that you get 3 is that they have different size of the brush for each one. So this is a wide brush. This one is a medium, I guess, width or thickness brush. And this one is the narrow one. Now, what's really unusual about these water painters, and it took a lot of support and a lot of practice to figure this out, was how you add water. Normally, you would think that you would unscrew the barrel this way, but you don't. You actually go the opposite way. So when you purchase these to use at home, just keep that in mind, that you screw to the right to open it, and then to tighten it or close it, you screw it to the left. All right, so let's make this fun sample, shall we? I'm going to start with a colored card base for my card. So that's one of the twists that I'm going to create. The sample in the catalog uses a basic white as their card base, or maybe a shimmery white, but I like a colored card base. So that's what I'm using, and I've decided to use Pear Pizzazz. Now I'm just going to put this on a scrap piece of grid paper, because what I want to do next is stamp a little bit of a background image on mine by using the butterfly stamp. This is another twist that I'm doing. Because I have a colored background, I thought it would be nice to have a little bit of a colored image as part of it. So I'm going to do a stamp off and stamp on. I did that last week as well, I think, for my YouTube video. I prefer colors that are a little bit more muted because I really want the focal for my card, or the focal point for my card, to be one of the other images. So I know how my card layout is going to be. So I'm just going to randomly stamp this butterfly around the edges of my card. I'll go ahead and continue doing that, and I'll be back to show you what it looks like. There we go. I have that beautiful image. It really is lovely. It's got such detailed line art, and it picks up the color beautifully and stamps it down nicely onto the card base. So the next thing I'm going to do is bring in the phrase from the stamp set. It says, "It's so nice of you to be so nice." So that's a nice thank you kind of sentiment. And I have a scrap piece of Very Vanilla, and I'm going to ink it up using my Pear Pizzazz and stamp it down like so. Now I'm going to set these two aside, and we're going to create this watercolor background next. I'm going to bring back in my scrap grid sheet, and I'm going to use a piece of watercolor paper to absorb the water that is going to be coming from creating this background layer using the water painters. Now, it looks like in the catalog they've used Calypso Coral, but I want my card to be just a little bit brighter, and so I've decided my little twist is going to be to use Bumblebee. Now, there are two ways that you can pick up color with your water painters. Let me bring those in. You can open up the lid and put a little splotch of a re-inker in there, a few drops of re-inker. Or if you don't have the re-inkers yet, what you can do is just squeeze the pad together in the middle, then open it up, and it creates a watercolor splotch for you to pick up the water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the barrel going, get the barrel filled with water. I'm sorry, the barrel is filled with water. What I'm going to do is squeeze the barrel to get the water to run down into the brush tip itself. And when it gets nice and wet, like it is right now, I'm going to pick up some color. And then I'm going to do some vertical lines. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to do another vertical line. And then another one. And they can be different hues of the same color. And then I'm going to do some horizontal. Like so. And then to clean it, what I'm going to do is just squeeze the barrel again and get some water to run out, and then it just takes the color off the tip. It's ready to put the cap on and use another time. And I'm going to use my medium brush next. And again, I'm going to get it going by squeezing the barrel. It takes a couple of seconds to get the water to start to flow. There we go. Okay, and using the same color, I'm going to now do some thicker lines. My color didn't run out very well. Okay, like so. And then I'm going to do one more. And then I'm going to clean it, and then I'm going to take the larger one and do exactly the same thing. Get the water running, then pick up the color. And then I'm just going to swoosh right on top, like so, which I think creates such a cool visual effect. And I'm not going to do it on every line. Only on every third line. And I think I'll do a couple vertical, and I'll come back and I'll show you what the final product looks like for this layer. And there we go. I created a really fun, playful looking, I guess, background layer on the watercolor painter using my water painters. So I'm going to set this aside to dry for a few minutes. And now let's work on a layer for the front of the card. So I'm going to bring in a scrap piece of very vanilla cardstock, and I've got the tree that I've mounted onto a clear block already. And to stamp the tree down, I'm going to use my Tuxedo Black ink pad. It's a Memento ink pad. And because of the size of the tree, I'm actually going to put the pad down on it so I can see or ensure that it gets inked up really well. Looks like it has. And then I'm going to stamp it down onto this layer, like so. Peel that off, perfect. Now what I want to do is bring back in my grid paper again, and that's just because this time I'm going to watercolor right onto the very vanilla. I'm not using watercolor paper, so it could leak through and wrinkle a little bit, but let's see what happens. I'm going to use my Bumblebee ink, and I'm going to color the flowers with, I'm going to use the finest tip of the water painter, and I'm going to add just a touch of color to each of these flowers. There we go. You can see the lovely yellow from the Bumblebee color. And now I want to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to use my Pear Pizzazz ink, and I'm going to add a green to the leaves on the tree and the grass below. And there we go. Now, the sample in the catalog also added sort of a light brown, maybe a soft suede or a crumb cake to the tree trunk and branches. But my little twist is to leave it just plain. I really want the colors in the leaves to stand out, and I'm fine with the rest of the tree being plain. So now let's put it all together. So I've got my layers ready to go. The first thing I'm going to do is attach my colorful background with the water painters. I'm going to put that on the card base, like so, so you can still see the butterflies around the edge. And then I'm going to attach my layers, my phrase and my flowers or my little tree a little bit differently than the catalog. You can see that in the catalog they used a larger piece of basic white, and then they stamped on a colored cardstock using maybe, I don't know, early espresso or maybe the Memento. Well, I'm going to do my layout a little bit differently, so that's another twist I'm going to add to my card. So I'm going to, I think what I'll do is I will bump mine up using some Stampin' Dimensionals rather than have it flat on my card. Again, that's another twist, and it's really personal preference, as you know. So I'm going to layer this up near the top of my watercolor layer, trying to keep it sort of in the middle. And then for the small phrase, I'm going to use some mini Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of it. Okay, and I'm going to add that at the bottom like so. And there we go. It's such a pretty little card, especially with this watercolored background. Now I'm going to bring back in the sample again, and you can see perhaps that they haven't used any embellishments on this sample. So what I want to do is add a little bit of bling or a little bit more visual interest to my card by using some jewels. I have these really beautiful in color jewels, and so I think I've got the 3 smaller ones here. I'm kind of taken with the green, but I think I'll stick with the yellow, and I'm going to actually add these right to my layer. I could put it on the background, but I just think it would be pretty and really draw the eye in to the layer that I have created and watercolored. And there we go, a really fun Happy Hedgehogs card idea that I created with a bit of inspiration from the mini catalog. If you would like a complete listing of the supplies that I used and the measurements for the layers and the ordering numbers for the products, in case you would like to make this card at home, I'll link to my blog post in the description box underneath this video. I also invite you to subscribe to my free newsletters. I send 2 newsletters a week with projects in each one that you won't see anywhere else. I'm Terri. I'm nuts about stamping. I hope you'll case the caddy someday soon too. Bye for now.